Hello and welcome to another tutorial. Today we will set something on fire. This tutorial has basically three parts. The first part is creating a fire simulation. The second part is rendering that fire simulation out and turning it into a looping image sequence. The third part is we will turn that image sequence into an image sequence with a transparent background and the right amount of pixelation. So enjoy the video. Let's delete the default cube and the light, delete. We will keep the camera. We will need the camera later on. And the first step is to Shift A, Mesh, UV Sphere. And let's select it, scale it a bit down. And Object, Quick Effects, Quick Smoke. Let's zoom in. And let's make this frame, the smoke domain, a bit bigger, like that. And let's bring it a bit more up, like this. Okay. We need to add one more thing, Shift A, Force Field, and the turbulence. Let's bring that a bit up, like this. And this is our base setup for creating a fire simulation that we will render out and turn into a texture with a transparent background. Very important. This base shape here is more or less the base shape of our fire, the base of the fire. So if you have something, a fire based on a straight object or something, you would be better off if you use a cube or something more flat. But I want to use the texture for something organic, like a torch or a campfire, for example. So I will use the UV sphere. But I think I will make it a bit, pull it a bit more out, like this. I think this kind of egg shape will create an interesting, more wider fire for our texture. So we have now basically the whole scene set up. We have the base object, which will be set on fire. We have the turbulence. This will create a more organic flow of the fire, and we have the smoke domain. This cube will make everything will give us the and we have this, and we have the smoke domain. So now we have to adjust some things. I will stay here in this front view, and let's start with the actual sphere here. Let's go in here into physics properties and flow type smoke. Let's change that to just fire. And flow source mesh, let's change that to 1. Set 1. The surface emission, this here is the coverage of the flames based on the mesh. So I think we are good to go with 1. and also the flames will not be that aggressive on the base object. So much to that. And we need a texture. Drop that down. Texture. Now we have to create the texture. We have here in texture properties, hit new, change image movie to clouds and colors, and crank up the contrast all the way up. And we want a more small noisy texture situation, so let's change it to 0.1. Okay, let's go back, physics properties, texture. Let's select the texture we just created. So much to the sphere setup. Now the second thing is the smoke domain. Here we have the first thing here is the resolution of our fire. The higher the resolution, the higher the details and everything of the fire. I personally, that's the default setup that will get very pixely. It's a good thing for our intention, but the thing is I want a bit more high-res version of our flame texture and later on reduce it, so we can still keep some details and stuff. So let's change this. We can we go here in double steps, so 32 to 34 if we want it, but you see that's still kind of blocky. And 64 to 200, 128. That's a bit better, and the next step would be 256. But as you can see, I already got a loading issue. This is very high res, but a bit overkill for our purpose. So let's stick with the 128. Also, if you have a potato laptop or PC, you should go with a lower resolution. This factor here could kill the whole baking and rendering process of your fire. So if you have struggle rendering out the fire simulation, you have to pull that resolution division down to 32 or 64, for example. So if you have a issue with the baking process, what we are attacking in a moment, just pull it down. So what's next? Under gas, we have here fire, and the reaction speed, I want to keep that down. This will this is the flow of the fire, and I want to kind of slow burning fire, so I will crank it down to a 0.5. What's next? Yeah, basically we have to change two more things. We have here the resumable option and here type. Set it to modular so we are actually able to bake it out, and resumable. When we toggle that, we get the option to stop the baking process. So if we notice that our PC is struggling with the baking process, we can just press escape and end the baking process of our fire simulation, and that's only possible if you toggle that here. And modular, you need to toggle that to actually get the option to bake data. So I think also we can already change render engine to cycles, supported device GPU. And okay, so let's make a quick recap. We cranked up the resolution of our fire. As I said, keep that down if you have a potato laptop. or PC, we pulled down the reaction speed. You can crank that up if you want, but it will also influence the baking process. And I want the slow burning fire. And here under charge, we have here type. We changed it from replay to modular and is resumable, so we can pause or stop the baking process. Okay. Also we changed here to cycles supported GPU. Okay, this will take quite some while to bake it out. And what's also important for here down here, I'm not sure if we should bake out all 250 frames. Let's change it to 100, from 1 to 200. It's a bit overkill. Like I said, if you don't have a very high performance PC or something, I don't have a high performance PC. You can keep that down and you can increase the processing of your PC. So, okay, very important, from 1 to 200. This will influence the simulation very intensely because it has a shorter time to burn up and down and stuff like that. So let's just bake it out, the fire. See you in a moment. Well, this took quite a while. I think the baking process took me like, I don't know, 20 minutes or so. So on my old laptop, this would be maybe half an hour or something. But yeah, if you notice any troubles or something, you know, just pull the resolution down, and here the frames maybe start with frame 10 and end with frame 100 or something, but we need at least 100 frames of our fire simulation. So let's give it a look. This is, by the way, here just a solid mode preview. So let's look at the silhouette, the shape of our fire. If you like to see something burn, here is your moment. And as you can see, the turbulence here influenced the fire. It made it a bit more lively. And yeah, that's a sick burn. That's what I call a fire. Nice. Awesome, awesome. The overall shape and everything looks great. But we have here a lot of smoke, and we don't want that smoke on our texture. We just need the fire. Also, if we, let's take for example here, frame 100. If you have here a different shape, the fire will have also a different shape. If you make it smaller or bigger, this will all influence the shape of your fire. So there's a lot of factors where you can change something. Also the shape of the smoke domain, and here the turbulence, but also very important, if you have a very huge smoke domain, this will take forever to bake out. So smaller domain means smaller baking time and so on. If you want to redo, if you're not happy with the result, just click here, free data, and you get again the option to bake it again. So you can, for example, change here the size of the ball or turbulence, and yeah. But if you do that, I wouldn't touch anything right now. I'm very happy with the outcome. So let's give it a look inside cycles. Looks kind of weird. We just see the ball and the smoke, but not the fire. I mean, it's still rendering, but there's something kind of off. So we have to adjust some elements to get to this preview here. So the next part, for the next part, we will change into the shading tab. Select the smoke domain here and click on shading. So this should look like this. And we have here our nodes of the smoke domain. Let's change to the front view. Nice. And let's toggle here the render preview. And I want to already show you something. We have here two black body intensity and density. If we crank it all the way up, we get a little preview of our cycles rendered fire. Looks already pretty badass. And if we crank down here the density, we get rid of all that noisy fog. If we increase it, we get more smoke. So let's just leave it as default by now, 5, and black body intensity, crank it down. So now we will create some nodes that will help us to get a more realistic kind of flame. And we will attack here the emission strength and the emission color. So add, attribute, add, color ramp, and Shift D to duplicate. We need 2 of them, and add search math node. Okay. That's everything we're gonna need to make our fire a bit more realistic without touching here this. So also it will look way better. The first thing, here the attribute, we need the function heat, which is included in the simulation. So type in here heat, H-E-A-T, and let's plug in the function into the function here in the first color ramp. Now here in the math node, we have currently add, changed it to multiply. Plug in color into the first value and the second value into the emission strength here. Looks already more realistic. So let's pull that bad boy up. As you can see, the smoke turns here on the bottom more into flames, and when we crank it up, it will get rid of the smoke and give us more of those flames. So we need a third option here in the middle. Let's select the black one and click plus. And let's change the middle one to just white. And the last one to just black. As you can see, we already have a more realistic fire from the shape. Let's pull that a bit out, a bit up. And as you can see, we can here change the shape of our fire as we like. Also here on the multiply, change this to something like 10. So we can differentiate the smoke from the fire. Let's pull down the density like before. Now we just have the fire left. And then we have to play around here with the sliders. But I think to get a more a better look on our fire, we need to change here those sliders. Click the first one on the color, crank it up into the white, and give it a very reddish orangey look. Oh, you know what? Function into function, color into emission color. As you can see, the tips get this reddish tint. Let's pull it up into the middle, like that. Maybe a bit more into the red, like that. And the white, pull it out. Change the white into this orangey, yellowish kind of situation. However you like. And the first color will influence the tips, the ending of the fire, and the first one, the downside of the fire, the upper body. So what's left? Yeah, for example, if you want to change the fire now, you need to change it here, the color. So if you want a more cursed flame or something, bring it here into the green, and you see this looks kind of like a magic spell or something. Okay, but let's keep it for now in the red. I think we are very good to go here. And now let's revisit the first color ramp. Zoom a bit in, like that. And I want to get rid of those flakes. I'm not sure if I want to keep them. Bit like that. That looks pretty nice. Yeah, you really can play around a lot with those settings, but I think I will stick with that. I mean, we still got here some resolution issues because, yeah, I mean, my PC would explode if I would render it out in a higher resolution. But 128 resolution of the fire is enough for my purpose. Yeah, I think that's good. Okay, also, let's pause this render for a second, and we want to change the, oh no, let's hit play. We want to change the colors of our viewport of our final render. So let's go output properties. Oh no, here are the render properties, color management, filmic, look to high contrast. And we get the more fiery look of the whole situation. So that's basically our node system for fire. Let's change back into the layout. So for the out rendering, for the render output of our fire, I don't need the sphere, so I'm gonna hide that. I just need the fire. Pretty nice. Okay. So now this is a pretty awesome looking fire simulation, but to render it out, I want a black backdrop. And later on, we will get rid of the black backdrop. So let's create a plane, Shift A, mesh, plane. Pull down here the item, rotation 90. Pull it into the back. Change material properties, new emission, because we want it unlit. Change it all the way to black. And now just hit, change the front view, hit S, pull it out, something like that. So I want an all black background so we get a clear view of our fire. Okay, that's the setup for the base setup of the layout for our final rendering. So now we need the camera. Now we adjust the camera for our rendering. For that, change the location to 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, all the way to 0. Here it's in the center point. Rotation on the x-axis to 90, and here the green arrow, the y-axis, we want that into the negative space here, a bit on the front of the fire. And let's change type perspective to orthographic. Now we can press the 0 on the numpad. This is a preview of our render view. So we want the square texture. So let's go here, output properties. And like I said, I want to render it out the first time on a higher resolution and later on get rid of the black and reduce the resolution. So I will render this out on 256 times 256, 56, enter. Now I will try to center this bad boy. Then here to camera. So I fill it out the best way possible. But now is a very important part. I need to actually see where's the highest point of our fire, so I don't break that with the frame. I think we are pretty good to go. Okay. Maybe let's, on a Z-axis, pull it a bit down to get it more centered. And I think yeah, that's the highest point. I think we are pretty good to go. So that's our camera setup. Zoom a bit out. So we have our orthographic camera setup. We adjusted the camera, we pulled it a bit out into the negative y-axis and pull it a bit up to center our render preview render camera. So let's hit the numpad 0 again, and our goal is to center the fire simulation as good as possible. And yeah, and also I'm still in cycles, and here the resolution 256 times 256. I will now render it out with the black backdrop, and we will get rid of that in the next part. But if you have if you struggle with the rendering and everything, just pull the resolution down to 228 times 228. Maybe you will lose some details, but with the pixelation later on we will lose a lot of details. But yeah, from Working from a bigger resolution down to a smaller resolution will capture some details from one rendering to the next rendering stage. But if you have trouble rendering overall with your PC, keep that down. Okay, now this is our render preview. We actually don't need the first part. Here it's a fireball and it goes up in flames. And then it keeps it steady on those in this high flames, on those high. So I think here it's building up the fire, and here on 60, I guess, or 50, it's constantly in the same height. So we don't need the first 60 frames of the rendering. This will also help us with the rendering if we render out less frames. So starting frame, change this to, I will go with 60. So it starts here, render out until 200, and that's the whole rendering situation. Now this will again take some while to render out this this fire simulation. Like I said, I don't want the sphere, so I here on filter I toggled disable in render. So if it looks like this, you have to click here on filter, disable in render, toggle that, and click the little camera with the, so you get the camera of the X, so it won't render out the sphere. So we just have the from 60 to 200, and we will render that out. This will take quite a while, so we will see each other after that's done. And also a very big part next up is the fire animation isn't looping. We have to make the fire animation looping because we want a looping texture. So one last thing to do here on the output, it's the temporary folder. Change that to a new destination folder. I go into my projects, hit new folder, and let's call it PS1 underscore fire and exclamation. So double click, and yeah, this is my project folder, so let's make a folder for the rendering. Fire. Double click. Always keep everything organized. Keep that in mind, except, so we have our render folder for all the single frames, and also we should save our project, save as, and fire. Also, let's save that into the folder. So everything is saved and stuff like that. So let's render out our frame 60 to 200. So see you in a moment. You can increase the speed of your rendering when you change the viewport into the wireframe preview, so it doesn't render out twice as much. It makes a small difference, but it will increase the speed. Yeah, see you when it's done. Render animation. The rendering is done. I rendered out 131 frames. I think 100 would be way enough, or even less than that. But I want to go on the safe side and render out a bit more. So if you just want to render out, I don't know, 50 frames or so, and you don't want to wait that long, just do that. Type in here, I don't know, 60 to 100 or something, and render out your 50, 30 frames or so. So, my little pyromaniacs, we need to actually make this simulation loop. We want a looping animated fire texture in a PS1 style. So for that, we have to go to a forgotten land inside Blender, the video editor. So for that, let's click Add Workspace, here this plus sign, also plus video editing. Now we are inside the video editor. Hit Add, Image Sequence, and let's pick the first half. Oh no, let's select it like that. Something like until 110, I don't know. That should be enough. So now we have here our image sequence, and it's for some reason reversed. Let's undo that. Click here on video, reverse frames. Now it should be. Now it should work. And let's import the last bit from 110 until 200. Add image sequence 200 and 110. Where is it? The frame after it is 111. Click that, add image strip. So it's also reversed. Reverse frames. Nice. Looks pretty nice. Okay. For some reason, I have here this little wobble effect at the start. I don't know why. I had that problem before, but that's also a reason why I rendered out a bit more to get rid of problems like that. Okay. Wait, where's the wobble? Here on the front. And then again. That's weird. Let's do that again. I can't explain the little wobbling, but we can get rid of that. That's also a reason why you should render out a bit more, just to be on the safe side for rendering issues like that. Let's just select all of it and cut it in half. Add. And we also have to reverse it. So we have here this weird wobbling. And then everything works as planned. So let's find the first frame. And here it should be fine. Click here the front, drag it until frame 71. 71, click into the empty space, pull it a bit on the front. So okay, we got rid of that wobble arrow thing situation. Now let's just find a spot here in the middle, like that. Pull this menu out and click the blade. And let's just split it. Click black to the moving tool. And now let's take the front of the clip, pull it to the end, and the other half pull it to the front. So now overlap it a bit. The first frame here and the last frame here should be, yeah, perfect. There should be a follow-up frame. Okay, now we are here. Yeah, I think 165. Let's change that. Oh, let's change it even further. No, that's 165. Doesn't matter if we start with frame 60. So we have here this break because we switch from one clip to the next one and we want to hide that. So let's click here on the top clip and we want to fade that into the next one. So here on opacity 0, enter keyframe. Here a bit, here on the end, a bit like that. And 1 keyframe. So when we now look at it, we have here this transition, but when we play it, it fades into each other. And because we will reduce we get rid of the background, the background, and we will reduce the resolution, it won't be noticeable at all. And we created a looping fire animation. So now we have to render out the whole situation. And I think I will change here the start frame to 1, so we get clear. That's a bit better, I guess. Maybe let's make it a bit shorter, the fading. 1. Okay, now it's not noticeable at all. So we have here frame 110. Doesn't matter. I want it's way too much frames for our purpose, but just as an example, 111. 110. Okay, good. So it's a huge ass animation, but yeah, why not? And here you have to play around a bit with this transition situation here, but I think it looks pretty dope. And now we have a looping fire animation. Now we just have to render it out. Like I said, 110 frames is a bit overkill for a PS1 animated texture, but I don't know, I want a bit more movement in the fire, and also this transition blends a bit more in if there are more variation in the frames and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm pretty happy. Also, I think let's try alpha overblend. Yeah, no, it's even better, I think. Okay, yeah, I changed this to alpha overblend, and here select the top one, first frame of the top one, 0 keyframe, a few frames down, 10 frames or so. Type in 1. keyframe that, and alpha overblend, and now you have a looping fire animation. Nice. Good. Because we have something in the video editor, the rendering will prefer the video editor. So if we want to go back into the layout and render that out, we have to get rid of our stuff inside the video editor. But for now, I think we are good to go to render out our stuff. But let's create another folder inside our project. We want to keep those. Let's go back into the project folder, hit new, and let's call it Fire Loop. Double click, accept, render animation. Yeah, this one was a fast one. So now we have our looping fire animation. Pretty nice. Save the whole project, and I think now it's a bit easier if we create a new project. So hit new, general. Okay, we have again our starting situation here, and let's set up our animated texture, and also we will get rid of the black background. Okay, now we will use our frames to create an animated fire texture, and after that we will create a transparent background for the animation. So let's delete the default cube and the light, and let's hide the camera for now. Let's create a plane like that. Nice. Change here on the gizmo to the Z-axis to get a top view, and let's create a new material. And I want to use an emission material and an image texture like that. Good. Now let's change into the shading tab. Let's create our image texture, our animated texture. But before that, we have to adjust something here. Oh no, you know what? Just throw it in there. Open. What is it? Fire loop. Select all the frames. Open images. And when we press the spacebar, nothing happens, but the frames are going through. So we have to toggle cycle, auto refresh, click the spacebar again, and now we have our looping animation. Change linear to closest, and we get a bit of those we get this pixelation, pretty neat. And now we want to get rid of the black background. So for that, we have here the emission. Let's add a mix shader. Add transparency like that. Now this will be a bit weird, but trust me on this one. Wait, this is always deactivating itself. So, with here the emission, let's plug in the color into the function, like that. Let's plug in the emission into the second shading thingy. And let's plug in the transparency into the first one. The end result, plug it into surface. Okay. Now we define the black of the background and how much we want to get rid of it. So let's go here into the material properties, blend mode, alpha clip. This is our current result. We got rid of this color situation here. Let's click in on it. Wait, let's make it a bit bigger. Click in color, change to RGB. And now, you just have to adjust here the slider to get rid of just the black. A bit like that. So this here is really something you have to play around with. Just find a good spot. I mean, you can leave a bit of the black in there if you want. And also here's also an option to adjust it a bit. The threshold. With the threshold you can here get a bit rid of the, with the threshold you get rid out of the outlines. So while leaving a bit of the black here, you can adjust it here with the threshold a bit further. But I think that's already pretty good. No, I leave it with 0.5 here. That's a pretty good result. Let's hit the spacebar. Yeah, I want to keep that. Nice. I want to go with that. No, emission 1. Let's give it a look with 100. Pretty nice. But I want to render it out in a smaller resolution because 256 times 256 is a bit overkill for our PS1 purpose, and we want some nice pixelation for our fire, and we don't want to adjust every time the color, this nitty-gritty color, and get rid of the black background. We want a transparent background, and that wasn't possible with the simulation because volumes can't have transparency. It's a bit weird and complicated, but that's the only way to get the transparent background. So let's get rid of that. So change this here. Oh, nice fire, pretty cool. Wait, we have here 110 frames. I want to render out 110 frames. Change that here. So nice flickery, looping, fire, perfect. Now let's set up our camera. Here it is. Location 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, everything to 0. Let's hit 0 on the numpad to get a preview. We can't see it because on the Z axis the camera is inside our plane. So let's pull it a bit up, hit 0 on the numpad. Now we are able to see it actually. Nice. Here inside the camera, change it to orthographic. Change this to, going to the wireframe. Change this to 2. Okay. And now we want again the full imagery. So keep EV. And inside here, the output properties, change this. Currently we have a resolution of 256 times 256, and that's a bit too much. So I want a resolution and nice pixelation with 128 times 128. Now for square, and this covers the whole texture, and we want nice pixelation. For that, post processing. This is only do it in, please just do it in Eevee. Trust me on this one. Post-processing, dithering, pull it all the way down. Here on render properties, film, pull it all the way down. Hit transparency, so we get the transparent background. This way we get 110 frames, PNG frames with transparent background. Also perfectly to introduce, to include it in any kind of project. So, color management, high contrast. I think it just looks a bit better that way. Now keep it on filmic, maybe give it a raw. Raw looks good. Raw, just the raw color information, high contrast, perfect. So we got rid of the last remaining black bits in there. So let's give it a test render. Hit F12 on your keyboard. And here is our glorious pixelated PS1 style fire. At least one frame of it. So I want to render it out all the way, all the 110 frames. If you have less frames than that, this will take just 1 second or so. For me, it will take 2 or 3 frames. Yeah, here, never underestimate the color management. You can get a lot of cool and vibrant color results out of it. So let's make a new folder for our output. Here, output temporary. Here's my project for a folder of the Fire project. PS1 228 pixel fire. Double click, accept, and let's render this bad boy out. Render animation, bibbidi bobbidi boo, and done. And done. We are done with our project. So let's hide the camera. Go into the Z. Now, you know what? Let's use our thing, our plane, the same plane. Or for explaining reasons, get rid of that plane. Hit A, plane, new. So we attack it from a fresh start. We have a plane. We want to give it our 128 pixel animated texture. So hit new, call it fire, change the principle to emission, image texture. Let's go into the shading tab. Now we have this situation. Hit open. Here are all our frames of our fire. Change to closest to get the nice pixelation. We want our transparency. Let's go blend mode, settings, blend mode, alpha clip. And mix shader. And transparency. Plug it in. Plug that into the alpha channel because we have a transparent background. Now this is gone. We want to change that. So add, invert. Very simple. Now we just have the fire and it looks amazing. So is there something left? Yeah. Whilst pressing the spacebar, nothing happens. Cycle, auto refresh. Our fire is burning. Strength of the emission. Fire doesn't get affected by any light sources because it's a light source itself. So we need an emission. We need the texture to be an emission texture. So crank it up to 10. 10 is perfect. 100 would be a bit overkill. I think 10 is enough. And let's go here inside this. This is the render preview, and beautiful, beautiful pixelated PS1 style fire. And it's a looping animation. Perfect. Perfect for any torch, or you want to set somebody on fire or so. If you want a different outcome, just change the base object on the first step, and yeah, perfect. You can use it for basically everything. Nice pixelation, amazing, beautiful. So here, use the bloom. That looks even awesomer. Wait, let me. Nice, beautiful. So for the fire, if you wanna have, for example, two fire inside your game engine or inside your project or Blender project, if you wanna attack different angles, you can, for example, duplicate the plane and rotate it here. So you have two planes. But the problem is with the same animation, it will look kind of weird. I mean, it can work if you want, but if you want more variation, change the second. Make, for example, the whole thing, but from a different angle, so you get a different fire result. And by having two planes with different fire animations, it will look a bit more realistic. So just a small tip to that. And yeah, so now you basically know how to set something on fire in a PS1 style. If you like this video and want to see more videos like this, consider subscribing, leave a like, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. And huge thank you for watching, and also a huge thank you to my Patreons, Davey, I Know Charlie, VZX, Tony McToadface, Tomfoolery, Copcot, Birdhouse, Alex Corjane, Stephen R. Redone. Thank you.